The future, our mutual future, the future of all humanity must be founded on respect. Let respect be both the catchword and the watchword of the new millennium we are now all entering together. Just as we want others to respect us, so we need to show respect to others. We are in this together, the rich, the poor, the red, the white, the black, the brown, and the yellow. We are all one family of humankind. We share responsibility for our Mother Earth and for all those who live and breathe upon. I believe our work will be unfinished until not one human being is hungry or battered, not a single person forced to die in war, not one innocent languishes in prison, and no one is persecuted for his or her beliefs. I believe in the good of mankind. I believe that the good can prevail, but only with good effort, and that effort is ours, each of ours, yours and mine. Leonard Peltier.
Hoo, hoo, hoo. Oh, gonna cheesh. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for reading that awesome story there, Johan. And Compass, a guide for men. And this chapter we are going over respect for others, and that last story was an original piece by Leonard Peltier. And welcome. My name is Gene Tagaban. My Tlingit name is Kayao. I'm of the Duckdantan Wishkatan Yadi. The town of Wishkatan, Eagle Shark Clan from Ajuan in Juneau. I'm coming to you from the land of the Puyallup Coast Salish people in Tacoma right now. And so it's good to be here. And so my brothers, introduce yourselves here real quick.
My name is Doug Kesta. I'm coming to you from these amazing lands, the unceded territories of the Alquan, Takuquan peoples, and Mount Juneau is right up there. She lives, she breathes, amazing mountain. You know, my people come from lands way far away, but they are my ancestors, and I love them. And they also worship the rivers and the ravens, and respected the lands where they came from. And I respect these lands, and I respect them, and I thank them and all our ancestors for getting us to this point. We made it. Let's move on.
Thanks, brother.
Ni Ndelawan, Luam Godu, Johan, Echo Hawk Atkinson, DYU, Lakibu Tegu, Mekatla, Alaska, Diwalwatku. Hello, how are you? I'm happy to be here. My name is Johan Echo Hawk Atkinson. I am of the Wolf Clan of the Tsimshian Nation here in Metlakatla, Alaska. We are the only reservation in the whole entire state. And I just want to express my gratitude and how grateful I am to be sharing this space with my brothers and to be able to reach out to everybody watching this video.
Right on. Hey, thank you. And again, we're with the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. And we're going through a program that curriculum is called Compass, a guide for men. And basically, a few years back, we were asked, men were requesting they needed some way to engagement, to engage, to start the conversation, get it going. So several people, elders, organizations, got together to put this together. And this is what we're going through today. We are on, I think this is like the fourth chapter.
One.
Yeah. And so again, we're going over respect for others today. And so just to get right into it, respect for others. And the little quote that we have here is the future, our mutual future, the future of all the peoples of humanity must be founded on respect. You know, and just guide me through this and how to use this book too. Through this lesson, young men will explore respect for others, including understanding boundaries. And so, hey, so when we talk about respect for others, I mean, what comes up to you for just with that statement, respect for others? You know.
Oh man, the first, I gotta move through this first. And the first thing is just Mother Earth. Respect for the earth, I gotta lay that down first because I feel like it's number one. And it's a reflection on who we are, how we treat our lands, our earth, this beautiful Mother Earth, how we treat all nature, all life forms is it really reflects on how we even treat ourselves and how we treat others. And it's the first thing that really hits me.
Hey Doug, I just wanted to like really thank you for that, because that's exactly the first thing that came to my mind too, is respect for others. Because from an indigenous point of view, native point, worldview is like others. We're also talking about the trees, the mountains, the waters, the land itself, and our earth, or sometimes people refer to Turtle Island, the animals, the bears, the deer, the mice, the salmon that go up, and so yes, just that when we talk about respect for others, that's exactly the first thing that I came into my mind. So thank you for bringing that up. First thing, brother. Anything else?
Yeah, I love that we're doing this chapter. This pertains to so much going on in the world right now. Respect for others, and no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, this needs to be heard, this needs to be said, this needs to be taught. And for us to truly honor each other, no matter who you are, no matter where we are, we have to truly honor each other and show that respect. It doesn't matter if you're lifelong friends or if you're just meeting someone. We have to be able to honor one another and respect one another, because everybody deserves it. We all deserve it.
Thank you, brother. Exactly. Yeah, we all deserve that respect. Earlier the chapter previous to this was called respect for self. Yeah, and we deserve that respect and to respect ourselves, but respect for others. And how do we show that respect for others? I mean, what does that really mean? Is it an action? Is it an idea? Is it a thing? I mean, what is it? What is that respect for others?
I lived in Africa for a while, for a couple of years, and it taught me a lot about respect in a lot of ways, because people were different than me. Obviously, I come from, oh my God, it's most white bread, white privilege culture you can ever come from in a suburbia Chicago, and it really opened my eyes, this whole idea of like people outside of what you are normally around. And they might have different thoughts, different ideas, but that's what's so cool about respect. You don't have to jump on their bandwagon and and follow them, forever. You just have to respect who they are and their ideas. And I honestly do that by listening. I feel like listening and really listening, not just like pretending to listen, but feel it in your body. And listen with your whole self. That's how it starts for me.
Right on.
It's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Doug. And I commend you for your journey that you've been on, experiences so many other different cultures. And the questions that are being asked here on this first page, these are the questions, my exact thoughts. Who are the people in your life that you respect? How do you show respect to people around you? When I ask those questions to myself, it helps me have a better understanding. So when I can have conversations for the men and the boys and the young men that are in my life, and so I do ask myself, who are the people in my life that I respect? There's people in my circle, my family and my friends, and I ask, why do I respect them? And it's because they have not only helped me, but show that respect for me. And we all heard from growing up from at least one person in our family, whether it's our parents, our grandparents, those values that we always have to teach each other with respect. And that's the first people that come to my mind as the people who spoke those words when I was a young man, when I was a boy. So I just had to point out those questions because my mind went straight toward these questions that are in this tool right here.
Right on. Yeah, and part of the first question that's in there is respect an action, a thing, or an idea. I think it's all of them. I think it is an action. It's an idea, and it is a thing. And that respect. It's also when we come again from that indigenous worldview too. It's a spirit. It's a presence. That respect is a presence, because when people have that respect, carry that respect. It almost it just permeates off of them, and you just feel that. You feel that, and even when you feel there's that, even on the flip side too, the disrespect too, you feel that as well. So it's like an energy, the spirit itself of respect. So thinking about this, I'm just going to go with these questions that are in this curriculum. It says, what memories of people. What are some of the memories of times of people treated you with respect or disrespect? And how did you feel about that? I remember this one time even just being disrespected. Right now we're in this a lot of it's about in a time of racism and such. I remember this one time I was just got done doing this oratory and this speech, and I was dressed in a tie and a suit, and my date at that time, this was when I was going to college in Lawrence, Kansas, to Haskell, and she was dressed up in an evening gown, and we were looking good, we were looking sharp, man. My hair was black and thick then, and that really good skin going and everything, and just feeling really good about myself. And then we just went out we were like, oh, let's go out to dinner. We're all dressed up. We had a few bucks. So just went to this club, this restaurant to go for dinner. And the thing is, they would not let us in. They wouldn't let us in because we're Native. We're Native. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that, and I stood there just kind of like my jaw dropped. I'm going, we're not here to cause trouble. We're just here to have dinner. We're we're dressed, to fit your, to be appropriate, and even in your eyes, I got a suit and tie on. She's got an evening dress on. And they would not let us in. And that really, really just I'll remember this to the day that it's my time to walk on. And it really opened my eyes to the racism. And the prejudices, discriminations, and biases that people hold. And I never really thought about that, and those little glances, because even those little glances that you get when I go to supermarkets and such, are those, oftentimes they call those microaggressions too. Those little glances, that where I feel disrespected at the time, and that. And so, it sits heavy with me. I remember those times, and I have plenty of stories about where I go out places where I've been respected. That's just with the nature of the work that I do, as a speaker, performing artist, and such. So I have many of those stories. I go on and on and on about those ones. But right now, that's one story that I have, a memory I have of being disrespected. And it hurt. It sat with me, man. It still does. It still does. And I went to the papers about it. I went to our paper with the school paper about it. And the thing is, nothing happened. Nothing happened about it, and so it's just one thing that came up for me right now. How about you guys? What's one time a memory that you might have?
I want to share another experience that I went through with my sons. The first time my sons ever experienced racism was we were on a bus going from downtown Seattle to North Seattle, and they were 5 and 7 years old, and they had an individual who was sitting on the same bus making racial slurs about people of color. And they started making those slurs because myself and my sons got on the bus. So immediately I told this person, you really need to think about what you're saying. And obviously I wasn't going to get anywhere on what this lady was saying. So I took my sons and we sat on different portion of the bus, but that racism, it hurt my heart that my sons had to go through that at the age of 5 and the age of 7. And they were too young to really understand, but that's just all too real what's happening in the world right now, and it's still happening every time I travel, every single time. And Gina have very similar stories, when I'm wearing a tie and a suit and I'm on different engagements. No matter what city I go in, we experience racism. It's still alive and well, because look at the news today. There is a lot of that going on all over in many countries and many parts of this country. But I want to point out, with what you are doing now is being the change, is us bringing these things to light, teaching young people how to live a life of respect and give that respect. And at that moment, I said to my sons, I thought to myself that I'm going to teach my sons to never judge someone by the color of their skin. I don't care what situation they are, and they're going to always stand up and say something if they ever witness racism, if they ever seen someone being disrespected. Until this day, I do everything I can to live by those words. And my sons now, they're 10 and 13, no, 11 and 13. And I just had this conversation with them about 2 months ago about racism and about the things that they are going to have to endure while growing up in this country and growing up in their lives, just to have them be ready for it and to be that change as well, to stand up and speak up. I could have easily moved to a different part of that bus without saying anything. No, but I said something in front of all the other bus people. I said, you need to really think about what you're saying right now. It is disgusting. And everybody, all the other people on that bus heard and seen, and they were thinking, their eyes were big. Oh, well, what's going to happen? But I stood up and I spoke up in front of everybody. And to this person's face, I wasn't getting confrontational and nothing about my energy saying that it was violence. It was I made sure that my son seen me do this. I made sure everybody else seen me do this. And I still think about that, all the time, and my sons, they have long hair, they got brown skin, and I know that when they enter into this world, when they are off in parts of the country, wherever it may lead them when they are men, they're gonna endure that, but no matter what they encounter, we have to teach our young people to stand up and to almost take a higher road, to be that change. And knowing that my sons have heard and witnessed me do that, where I spoke up and I'm teaching them the values, and because we all have responsibility, not only our kids, but to everybody in our circle, to be that change, to share these values, to ask these hard questions and prepare them for what's going to be taking place in their lives. You know, so I just wanted to share that experience, you know, because, you know, it was 5 and 7, you know, when I first endured racism, you know, where someone wasn't respecting them. But I'll tell you what, my sons will grow up in this world respecting others, having that honor, always honoring other people, you know, being that change.
Right on, brother. Right on. Good. Yeah. Doug, you got something?
You know,
I see your lip twitching.
I know. Oh my God, I gotta get it out. No, I keep going back to, I mean, those are super powerful stories, and I mean, you feel them inside you. I mean, and that's what I keep going back to. The idea you said earlier that it's like an energy. Respect is like an energy, and disrespect is like an energy as well. And it's like it's like a feeling of safety or feeling of being unsafe. When somebody's disrespecting you, I think it impacts your whole body. Like your whole body feels it. And it takes a lot of courage to like move through that, to like, you know, move your lips to say something about it, because it's an intense feeling. And you know, it's like, and it's more than that one moment. It could be all those other times that have happened, all come pouring in, those memories, and it's intense. And but I wanted to go back to the idea of safety. When you are respecting someone, that person feels safe. And to me, that's so important, because when somebody feels safe, you're going to see their highest self, the most authentic, real self. And that's who I want to see. I don't want to see some made up self or guarded self or, you know, any of that. I want to see like who they really are. And I think that's what respect does. It gives them, you share that energy of like, I'm here, I honor you, and we're safe, and it allows them to just flourish, you know? I like that.
Right on, man. You know what, again, I just wanted, like, we're going over the compass, the guide for men, and going over respect for others. You know, as we're talking about this, it's interesting because, you know, when we started, I was really excited about, you know, getting into this conversation about respect for others. And then always as we get going, I mean, there's so much, this is such a huge, huge thing about respect for others. You know, you were talking about that incident on the bus too, Johan. And I just saw, we have a friend who works in this field, and her brother was actually killed on the bus because he stood up to defend a couple Muslim individuals, Muslim women. And this individual on the bus was just really disrespecting them, getting them in, you know, in their face, felt threatened, felt unsafe. And so he stood up to like take a stand for that, you know, and this guy pulled a knife and stabbed him, you know. And so it's like, I don't know where that, I just wanted to mention that for some reason, where that came out from, man. But that the disrespect for others that's out there is huge and is deep. It is deep, and it's vicious. It's vicious, you know. And I've felt it myself. You know. And you know, and I gotta admit that there's that disrespect for others as well is in me too. In me, disrespecting others, you know, and especially now in the world that we're in, you know, and we're in this world where we're talking about a pandemic, we're talking about racism, social justices, systemic racism, and you know, and social change that's going on. And so I have my prejudices and disrespect for others when I see those who don't want to be part of the solution, wearing masks or standing up for, you know, Black Lives Matter, because they do. Black lives just, you know, they matter, and they need our help right now. You know, Native people, we need, you know, it's all this thing, you know. And so I have my prejudices, and in my brain, I'm just going, God, that guy's such an a-hole. or they're just such a Karens, and in that way too, I'm disrespecting them. But man, it's like that frustration just builds up in me too as well. And so that's something I need to step back and breathe, and talk to somebody else and learn about my personal prejudices, and judgments and discriminations. Because there's, this thing where, you shouldn't have any judgments. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. We need to have judgments. Judgments are good. They keep us alive in many cases.
That's how we work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I have judgments. I have prejudice and this and that, and so, but I need to be aware of how it affects me and how I affect others as well, and so it's really need to. So part of another question on here is, how can you disagree with somebody and still show you respect them? And I want to throw this out there too. Can you still totally disagree with somebody and just in many areas and still have respect for them? Is that possible?
It is. Yeah. I mean, that's what we're going for. I mean, you have to have your boundaries too, where there's certain things. You both talked about stepping up and being an active bystander who actually tried to change the situation. So there is that, I have my line. If I see it crossed, you guys have your line. We're going to take action, because that's part of respect for self and respect for others, is to keep others safe, because people are being harmed. So we have to do that, but we're never going to fully, understand each other. If, like you said, we're in that polarized position where those they're all like this, all those guys wearing the red hats and, saying whatever, we got to bring America back to where it used to be and all that stuff. If we keep in that polarized position, we're never going to find the common ground that's going to bring us together. And I know I try to think, what is the part of them that I know parts of them are just like me, and I try to find something inside of them. I'm like, oh, that dude, they might be one of those dudes, but they also will stop when they see somebody with a flat tire and be like, oh, what can I do to help you? And so there's that. I really, we have a simple humanity. It's these crazy issues sometimes that are thrust upon us that keep us apart. But I think deep down, we can just find that pure humanity within us, then we can make the connection necessary.
Right on.
Yeah, well said, Doug. That's that question. I'm really glad that we're asking that question. How can you disagree with someone and still show you respect him or her? It's and you brought up something really great, is boundaries. So when someone is showing disrespect to myself, or if I witness it, we're going to remove them from our circle. We are not going to be in that presence, be in that energy, and be a part of that. Now, I don't wish for anybody to no longer be on this earth or things like that, but that's that respect that I have, is you do you. We're going to continue to be the change. We're going to continue to help the next generation, the young men, the young woman, to not think like you. That's what comes to mind with me when my sons witnessed that racism. It was a big point in my life where I'm going to make sure that my sons are going to grow up to always honor everybody. Don't matter who you are, where you're from, and just like the diversity that we have here in this group right here, Brother Doug, we could all learn from one another. We could all teach one another, and just like this is our fourth video, and I'm gonna say it again. I learned so much from you, Doug, and I learned so much from you, Dean.
I appreciate
We
it.
all learn from one another.
Likewise, yeah.
And that's what's at the forefront of my mind, is we can all learn from one another. We have to be that change. And when we experience things like that, yeah, if they cross that boundary and cross that line, they're no longer in our lives. We're gonna not have them in our circle, but we're not gonna act out in violence. You know, I am not going to hurt anybody. I am not gonna, take those steps, but instead I will do everything that I can to help be the change, to help understand it myself. These questions in here, they really, really have you think deep and reflect on our own situations before and our own experiences, which helps us when we have these conversations with the young men and the next generations as well. This is a really, really great topic, and I know that we could just spend our video just on this one question right here.
Yeah.
Really, really great.
Hey, so I want to go back up, because the first question was respect in action, a thing or an idea. Because part of it too is like that respect for a thing as well. For instance, that's because respect, as Doug said, it's an energy. It can be a spirit. Come from an indigenous worldview. Let's take alcohol. Let's take alcohol or drugs. And respect for others, respect for a thing, like a respect for somebody else's car or whatever. Respect for others. For instance, alcohol and drugs needs to be respected, because it can kill you. It can harm you. Just like an individual, who they, you might disagree with them, but I have respect for them. Just like there could be a snake, let's say a snake in the grass as that metaphor, man. I have great respect for that snake, or the spider that's right there. I have great respect for that spider, or a bear that's right here in front of me. I have great respect for that bear, or a shark, because it can harm me. So even these things too. I mean, it's like there's that respect for others in that way. I may disagree with you. I may not even like you. I may dislike you very much, but I have respect for you. But it's a different way, as it's a different type of respect that I have for each of you, Johan and Doug. The respect I have for you is like a very more of an admiration, a reverence, an awe, and that in that way as a brotherhood. But there's other people and other things out there, like, again, alcohol and drugs. I have a respect for them, for the power that they actually have and the damage and the harm that they could do. And that's respect for others as well. Does that make sense? Is that kind of clear?
Yeah, respect the dangers of this world.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. That's it. The dangers of this world, because there's some people who are around who can be dangerous, or substances that can be dangerous as well, and I have respect for them for that. Yeah, that's a good way. Those dangers in this world, and it's a good way to put it. I was looking for the right words, I guess, to say that.
It's like when we climb a mountain, or when we're over by the river, man, and it's like rushing by. I have a serious respect for rivers, because I just feel like you gotta respect them.
Yeah. Yeah, and people are like that too, man. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's a really great concept, is with the animals and with the addiction, and with things that could harm us, because so many things can harm us in this life, and if we don't respect them, if we don't understand them, they will take hold, they will harm you, just like when we are teaching our young men to be healthy people in this world, and when our young men are are leaving our communities, are going to college, are just starting to venture off in this world. They have to have that respect for all the dangers in this world. Otherwise, it's going to pull them down. It's going to take hold. And it's up to us to be able to ask these questions and use the resources that we have to have them understand of what's out there, the dangers out there, and how to respond to them, to keep them safe, to keep them healthy.
Yeah, that's just those boundaries too, eh? This is the boundaries. You know, that's why this whole thing about respect for self and respect for others, this goes hand in hand. I mean, have that respect for yourself, you know, and even respect for others in a good way, like those elders, or respect for others, like there's those shysters out there, man. They're like trying to take advantage of you, you know, and you still have to. There's a respect you need to have for that energy that's there, you know.
Totally. And so just the other day we had a bear come in our yard, you know, and at one point that bear like charged me a little bit and was like, you know, gave me his like best shot, and then he ran off. It wasn't a big deal, but I was thinking about it, like, man, if a human did that to me, if like some guy came into my yard and like, you know, threatened me or whatever, and I would be way more impacted, like by a bear. Like my whole self, like my self-importance didn't get activated, like, oh, dang it, that bear trying to, you know, pissing me off. But if it was a human, like, how do you handle that? Because it's hard. You guys both just told intense stories about being disrespected. But man, we got to find some tools, you know, that we can use, so when that happens, we don't lose our cool and get swept into their whole like bad vibe world. You know, it's like you almost have, when you have your own self-respect, you can stand firm in yourself, and their actions actually don't have to affect you that much. Just like that bear's actions, like, you know, I'm not telling everyone about it because it was that hard or anything. But when it happens, like humans do it to me, oh man, I can spiral down and I might have a reaction that's not positive. What do we do?
Yeah. You know, and so even again, the anger, that's respect for others. You got to respect that anger, you know, and it may be unhealthy, but there's a certain respect just for your own self-preservation, you know, and even your boundaries as well, you know, and so gosh, wow, what a topic. I mean, respect for others. It could go on. So this is what the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, to engage men, to stop the violence, stop the abuse, stop the hurt and harm. You know, and so when it comes to like our relationships, let's say, like, I mean, there's a last question. One of the questions on here is like, what does respect look like on a dating or sexual relationship? You know, I want to throw this out there. I was doing a men's group this just not too long ago, really, just probably about a little over a year ago now. And I was talking about how, you know, just jokingly talking about that as men, we can, you know, I remember going into like a club, and, you know, and with a group of guys, and we all scanned the whole area and stuff. And then we spot a beautiful woman that's on the other side of the room. And just in a moment's time, just because the power of our mind and our thinking, that we see her. And in that time we see her, we start talking to them, we start dating them, we start having a relationship with them. Then we have sex with them. Then we get married to them. We have kids with them. We raise a house with them. And all this takes place within a time of like 15 seconds. That whole thought process.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. You see this person's, oh man, they're perfect for me, you know, back in those days and stuff like that. I'm just, you know, joking about that, you know, and how that happens. But later on that day, a young man came up to me and he says, you were talking about that, you know, and you see a woman, and we automatically start thinking about, you know, how unhealthy it is to start just imagining going to bed with them, sleeping with them, having sex with them, you know, and you just you imagine it, in your thoughts and stuff.
Or
And
programming, man.
he came up to me. He said, I don't know any other way to do it. And I didn't know that was wrong until you just said something right now. I thought that was normal. I thought that was normal to see a woman or a girl, or, you know, who that thought, those thoughts was normal. And he asked me, how do I act? What do I think? How do I change that? And I love that he came up and asked me. And first I said, well, first of all, you just came up and asked. Now you know. Now you know. And now you're asking, how do I change it? And that's how you change it. You start becoming aware of it. You know, and I have to admit, man, there's been times when I was younger, the same thing. I see a beautiful woman, you know, that programming and all that, you know. And for myself now, if those thoughts come up in my mind, I literally just tell myself, stop. In my mind, I just say, stop. You know, and it's interesting too. It's like my wife and I were having this conversation just this morning about how, you know, when, for instance, if a female comes into let's say my workshops or my classes, they're dressed kind of provocatively, and they're kind of flashing this and that, you know, and do I tell them to, like, hey, that's inappropriate, or this or that, you know, and what do I act, you know, because it's really uncomfortable, you know. And I said, you know what, maybe I might tell my female trainer about it, or my mind is this, like, I just don't look. I don't look in that way. I even turn my head. I don't even look, because, you know, that's the way they're dressed, you know, or they're showing themselves. But I don't look, you know. And so, but I had to, like, I'm teaching myself, because as a young man, I'd be going, wow, I didn't know any better. I didn't know how to act any different, you know. And so, with those relationships, and even sexual relationships, that respect for our women. You know, I'm saying just women right now. There's the LGBTQ community too, and just the, you know, the relationships. But I'm in a relationship with my wife, you know, and I'm a heterosexual man. You know, that respect for women, you know, and stuff. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
You know, I just want to go back on the first part that you said, being a young man, and in this society right now, you know, and being a young man, you know, you're going through, we all know they go through the changes, you know, going through puberty, you know, their mind is, if you don't teach and direct their mind, it's going to go everywhere. It's going to go into the wants and the desires, you know, and into, and everybody has a phone. You know, it's very easy to to go in an unhealthy direction. And it sounds like that young man had a pivotal moment, had a huge moment in his life when he went to you and said, this is the only way that I know how to look at women. You know, that conversation and hearing another man say those things needs to happen. And I'm so glad that he heard that come from your mouth. And these kind of things need to be taught and heard from all men. Before our boys become young men, and before our young men become men, we need to be the example and tell them what respect for others looks like, and how that affects for that respect for yourself. Because if we don't teach, and if we don't help them understand, you know, with today's electronics, you know, it's really easy to look up X-rated videos. It's really easy to get sucked into all the music videos.
Yeah.
Easy for, I mean, it's everywhere. It's all over. It's on MTV, you know, and so that's the kind of, with all those toxics, with those toxics of those what word am I looking for? There's all those things trying to entice the young men. It's all over. is we need to also have our voice be just as loud. We need to let them know beforehand. Let me tell you what a relationship is, what respect is. It's not what you see on TV. It's not what you learn through, or what you see through music videos. It's not what you see in porn, and all those things discussions have to be brought up, because when I was a young man, 13, 14, it was all over. All my friends talked about it. It was on TV, and I grew up, it was Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre
Yeah.
music videos. Those are the kind of music that I listen to. But now, me being a father, there's no way in hell I would let my sons watch those music videos, because everything portrays women as objects, and,
Yeah.
and there's no respect. There's no respect for each other, and that's what my mother used to say. She would say, "Why do you watch this? They're portraying women as objects." But being a young man, I would change the channel, but as soon as she would leave or leave the house, I'd be, watching these things that would make my mind go in an unhealthy way. But then when I would hear and see other men sharing what respect for others and self looks like, then that helped direct my mind as a young man and a man where it needs to go. So those conversations need to be brought up. And sometimes they're hard, sometimes we don't have the words to, like, how am I going to talk to my son about porn? How am I going to talk to my sons about what's being portrayed on TV all the time? Just flat out say them. Use tools like this to ask questions. Make it comfortable in your own, because we know the young people in your life, the young men and boys in your life, better than I do. Anybody watching this video, you guys know your young men and boys more than I could ever do it, more than I could ever know. So bringing these conversations up, and let me tell you what consent looks like. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what making a woman appear as an object looks like. And then also let me tell you why that's wrong. And having those conversations directs our young men and boys into the direction that we need them to be. We need them to walk that path, but it's everywhere. I could turn the TV on right now, no doubt about it, and see the things that I do not want our young men to see. Not just my sons, but the young men and boys in my whole community. Here in my village in Metlakatla, Alaska, we are isolated. We are an island. There's no roads to and from in my village, but the influence is everywhere. So we have to be able to bring up these hard topics and these conversations that I wish I had when I was a young man. We all have a responsibility.
Brother, that's well said. I mean, because these things right here, you can just get on and learn about, pornography, or you type in, like, even if you want to type in health and sexuality, these porn sites are going to come up, because they know how to tap in and influence, and our young men are so highly influential, and that toxic masculinity I think you were talking about, and how do we teach them about that healthy masculinity? But it's really up to us. We're at that age, we need to have conversations with them. My dad never had a conversation with me. My mom would lay out these books on sexuality and such like that. And then my dad would just toss me a Playboy. Here, read this. I'm like, what? It's like, and which one am I going to read, man? Am I going to read the book that my mom gave me about sexuality, or am I going to read the Playboy? It was, it's
well,
the
with
Playboy.
pictures.
The pictures, man. I'm going, whoa, check it out. But that's in my time, that's how we learned. Same thing's going to happen with these kids, man. It's like, we have to sit down and teach them and talk to them. Is it uncomfortable? Man, yeah, it's uncomfortable. We got to teach them, because at the same time, man, I don't know everything. You know, here I'm 56-year-old guy. I still get intimidated with that, you know, and I talk about it and you know, with that conversation, but still we got to have those conversations and talk to them, because, or else they will learn somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a matter if they will or they might learn. No, they will learn someplace else if we're not the ones to talk to them about respect for others, respect for women, and that healthy sexuality and those things. You know, Doug,
talk to them and lead by example. You know, my relationship with my wife, I'm not taking her phone and looking through it, being like, "Who you talking to?" You know, like, what, you know, you can't talk to him, or how come you're interacting with that guy, or, you know, I'm not like saying that you can't go out and visit your friends, or you can't go out with that, because that's, you know, it's making me uncomfortable. That's what we see so much. I've been lucky enough to work in the schools, and power and control. There's a lot of unhealthy relationships going on, and it's one person trying to maintain power and control. And what they do is they start to text him all the time. "What are you doing? Oh, how come you're not with me?" You know, and just over and over and over, or like try to limit their freedoms, try to, like, you know, whatever, gaslight their, like, you know, to their friends, like, "Oh, you know, he's mean, or he's a jerk, you can't hang out with him." Anyway, that's one thing. I really try to lead by example, but we got to just plainly say it too, like you guys are saying.
Yeah, straight up.
That's not right. That's not a healthy relationship. Healthy relationship and respect is communicating. If you're feeling hurt, it's okay to feel hurt and feel jealous. Be like, "You know, I'm feeling jealous right now, and I don't want to, like, limit your stuff, but this is just how I'm feeling." You can be real. You don't have to try to, like, take those emotions and, like, push them into the negative and try to hurt and control someone else, because people are being hurt. And that's where we're here to keep people safe and keep people from being hurt, because they are being hurt. And some of it is it's like power and control.
You know, that just goes right into, you know, again, why we're doing this, because the previous chapters was knowing who you are, knowing your emotions, respect for self, and now we're going with respect for others. It's like, you know, that jealousy, that's like knowing your emotions. It's knowing about who you are, how do you tick, how do you do things, how do you react to things, you know, how do you react to anger, and also how do you react to joy, because some people are like really that intimacy. Let's say we're in a relationship when it comes to intimacy and that joy and that love, you know, that first experience in love, or even touch and these things. You know, when you're exploring this in a relationship, you may not be used to this, because when you're growing up, you never had that, and now you got it, and it's like you just go, "What do I do with this?" You know, but you want more, and you want it just for yourself. You know, and it's this twisted, you know, but that's about learning about who you are. Who are you? You know, learning about what are your emotions, you know, and, you know, what gets you ticking in the good, negative, and the positive, you know, and respect for self, which reflects on that respect for others.
Your values and
your beliefs.
And it's up to you to maintain your values. Nobody can do it for you. Your integrity is your responsibility, and it takes work. It takes work to maintain your values in your, you know, society, and you have to think about it and really feel it through.
Right on.
Yeah.
You know, so that's a heavy question. I mean, it's like that, you know, that we can go on and on about this, you know. Hey, part of as we're winding down here, part of the this, again, we're going over Compass, a guide for men, and this is with the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault. We're just about how do we get men involved in the conversation, male engagement, to stop the violence, stop the hurt, stop the harm, and stop the abuse. It's about, we have to get the conversations going, you know. And so part of this here guide that we're showing you how to use step by step, pretty much. What's in here says is teachable moments. So some of those teachable moments, and those are just like you're in the spur of the moment. Like right now, we're having a conversation about sexuality, intimacy and relationships, and and when that comes up, you got to take, especially with our kids, our youth, they might ask it, or you might see something to take that moment, and it's a teachable moment. And they're out there if we take a look. But some of the teachable moments are acknowledge that you are also here to learn. By showing that you respect their experiences and knowledge, they will be more willing to do the same for you. I mean, we're learning in this process too. And even when we're talking about this, is that I don't know it. I'm scared too. I'm trying to learn at the same time. And I didn't get, you guys are parents. Did you guys get an instruction manual on how to be parents?
No, that's the scariest part. Nothing.
When your kids were born, did they here's the instruction manual right here, read up on it.
I wish.
I think this is probably the first one that I received, the compass.
There you go, man.
I mean, because, you're learning, and I'm learning. I'm not a dad, but I'm an uncle, I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor and many things. And all some people I do play that dad role, And so we're all learning. And so another teachable moment is celebrate and encourage respect when you see it happening. So there's the negatives that's going on. But when you see something good happening, really encourage that, man. Say, right on, good job. Good job respecting that person, or respecting that tree even, or we give respect to the salmon. They're, wonderful, awesome, and just totally yes. I mean, we can't do that enough, because oftentimes the only thing they hear is the negative. They need to hear the positive as well. That's, and another one on here is encourage youth to be aware of their surroundings. If you're out hunting, fishing, or berry picking, ask questions to provoke reflection of your impact on the land. And that's what we started off with: respect for others, respect for the land, respect for the earth. And that's as much as respect for others as human beings. Because sometimes we think about, in this colonized world, we think about respect for others. It's always about human beings. But no, indigenous mind view, respect for others. First thing we said was it's respect for the land, acknowledge the land, and those things. And so part of it too, I just want to share on here is living the lesson. If you are unsure of a person's boundaries, ask them, or if somebody's crossing your boundaries, let them know. And so pay attention to nonverbal cues when interacting with others. So sometimes those nonverbal cues are if you start talking with them, and it's they go, or whatever that is, or this is a nonverbal cue too. When you're having a discussion or doing something, this is a nonverbal cue too. It's they're getting closer because they want to hear more. And so be aware of the effect you have on your surroundings. What do you leave behind? Keep an area clean. So it's about living the lessons, about us, like you guys were saying, being the example. And Johan, you go out camping quite a bit. So do you, Doug, with your kids and all that. It's just hey, we need to pick this up, clean it up, take care of this plant. I remember a kid came to my camp that I was running, and he started immediately wanting to take his knife and carve on the tree. I said, no, you need to respect that tree. Take care of it. It doesn't want to be carved on. No, give respect to that. Give respect to that relative there. Embrace that people have views and perspectives that differ from your own, and this is a gift, man. Wherever we go, I mean, here we've known each other, but still, as we've known each other, we have different views on things, and perspectives, just because of who we are, where we come from, our environment, how we were raised, and majority of our things, our beliefs are very similar, but other people out there, man, they're not going to think like you. Treat others the way you want to be treated. One thing I want to say about that, treat others the way you want to be treated, is that sometimes if you don't have respect for yourself, sometimes you don't treat yourself very well. And so that term, treat others the way you want to be treated, you know, because you don't know how you want to be treated. You know, you like to be loved, acknowledged, paid attention to, you know, but think about that, you know, treat others the way you would like to, you know, that to be treated. So it has a different perspective on it. But those are just some of the things that we've gone through a compass here today, you know, to take a look at, to pay attention to. Any last thoughts, man? Any last thoughts, brothers?
Man, I know that we could talk all day on these subjects and how everything on this topic, respect for ourselves, just went hand in hand with knowing your emotions, with respecting others, and you know, all these are connected. All these are connected, and being able to go through this book and this chapter with you all is, you know, I want to say it's given me the right words to say, zero in on the right words that I want to continue to say. You know, I'm doing my best to be better than I was the day before, but this tool here, it helps. And that's why we want to do these videos. We want to be able to help you teach the young men and the boys in your village and in your city, in your community, to be that change, to have these conversations, to be able to teach and direct the next generation in a healthy direction. But they have to understand, they have to have these topics be brought up in order for them to learn, you know, and to have them understand what respecting myself looks like, what respecting others looks like, and knowing my emotions. How am I going to respond? And we just covered so many topics, and there was a couple of topics that you guys brought up that I want to jump on, but we could go for like 2-3 hours, you know. So but this is really great, and I'm just really glad to be able to engage in this conversation, because I'm learning as well. You know, we're just 3 guys going through this book, and we're all on our own healing journeys. To be that change and to make sure the next generation of boys, young men, and men are going to be able to bring back that balance that we need, where everybody is safe and everybody is respected, because that's what we want. That's what we want for everybody.
Right on, brother.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You know, we might be just recording this and having this conversation, but I can guarantee you we'd be talking about this before, after. Like, we're not just doing it for the show, man. It's like that's like a real thing. We're living it. And that's all I'm going to ask you for the last thing I'd like to say is just everyone out there, take one step. Maybe you disrespected someone. Maybe you disrespected yourself. Take one step towards, you know, trying to create that respect, that feeling, that energy of respect around you towards someone and towards yourself.
Right on. So, like, you know, what kind of elder do we want to be? Because we're going to get there one day. Yeah. Hey, so brothers, another, you know, program, you know, that we've provided out there. I thank you again for joining us, you know, and being part of this. You know, and again, this is Compass, a guide for men, with the Alaska Network on Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, male engagement to stop the domestic violence, abuse, the hurt and harm. And so thank you again, and we'll continue this on, and with our next chapter. I think our next chapter is about communication. Oh my goodness. My wife will love that one. And so until next time, you know, thank you so much. And those who are out there watching this, thank you. And to being part of the solution and taking time to learn and healing. And healing. So with that, I'm going to Chish.
Much love.